we have over here, we have an interesting new website for you to look at. It's called partnersinkindness.org. Partnersinkindness.org. This was started by a young man by the name of Shmuel Greenbaum, and we can read about his story over here. This is a tragic, partially a tragic story, but then he ends up triumphing in his own way. And here, we can start reading. On September 11th, 2001, the Western world was changed forever. It lost its innocence, or perhaps more precisely, it lost its naivete, as it was plunged into the abyss of terrorism. On August 9th, 1 month earlier, 15 people lost their lives in an all-too-familiar scenario in Israel, as a suicide bombing took its toll at a Jerusalem pizzeria. One of the casualties was Shoshana Greenbaum, an only daughter, 31 years old, 15 months married, and 3 months pregnant with her first child. There were many stories of heroism connected to the tragedy, and many heroes. Shmuel Greenbaum, Shoshana's husband, is one of them. Then in the States, he sat Shiva alone at his Rav's home. Almost 1,000 people came to pay a Shiva call. They were shocked and couldn't imagine how Shmuel could cope with such a loss. 6 months later, he showed the world his response. In January 2002, Shmuel launched 2 daily emailings, a Jewish emailing called Daily Dose of Kindness. That's his website. It talks about Daily Dose of Kindness, and a non-sectarian emailing called Kind Words. In addition, he launched 2 websites, A Tradition of Kindness and Partners in Kindness, as a tribute to the memory of his late wife, a response to terrorism that only a Jew can give. Shmuel was inspired by the many kindnesses shown to him during this difficult period and the aftermath of 9/11. This was written by the way, this was written by Rosalie Saltzman, this story here. So now we're quoting Shmuel. Through kindness we can bring Mashiach, says Shmuel. The 2 websites have 25,000 subscribers from all over the world, including Kuwait, and have spawned a book. More importantly, and what can't be measured, is the unbelievable ripple effect as people read of other people's kindnesses and strive to emulate them. Information about organizations that help others is shared, and the effect reads like a Frank Capra screenplay. Besides running the websites and lecturing on the importance of kindness in the United States, Israel, and many other countries, Shmuel Greenbaum, now 47, works as a programmer for New York's Transit Authority. Shmuel speaks weekly with his late wife's parents, who made Aliyah 6 years ago. They moved to Israel, to Eretz Israel 6 years ago. He visits them several times a year when he's in Israel. Quote, Shmuel, we're quoting him, "We take for granted what we have," he says. "We don't realize the value of what we have until we lose it. That's how it was with me. I told myself, I have a good job, I'm young, I'll pick up the pieces and I'll start again, and I'll find somebody." But he still hasn't. Quote, "It took me a long time to find her in the first place. I was 36 when I got married. Such a person, such as Shoshana, is rare to find in the world." Shmuel is looking to find someone to help him share his vision of kindness and reach out to people who have little or no Jewish knowledge or affiliation. He's looking for someone warm who's interested in growing and helping the community, and with whom he can start a new family. Shoshana felt she had a mission in America. She taught Limudei Kodesh, she taught Hebrew studies, and she felt she could reach out and spiritually touch every one of her students. Shoshana's goal in life was to extend her love to each and every soul she touched, to infuse each one with self-esteem, to comfort each one in their sadness, and to raise each one to their highest potential. Her life was dedicated to truth and kindness. Her tragic death is what inspired her husband to bring more kindness into the world. Quote, "I saw this as an opportunity to help other people and change the world," says Shmuel. And he is, one kindness at a time. To subscribe to his website mails, order a book, submit an inspirational story, make a donation, invite Shmuel to speak. Email Shmuel at info@partnersinkindness.org. Shmuel has been nominated as a hero in the Jewish Community Heroes Campaign. Voting is taking place until October 8th. Vote for Shmuel at http://www.jewishcommunityheroes.org. jewishcommunityheroes.org/nominees/profile Shmuel Greenbaum/ So let's show that. Let's show his website one more time. Partnersinkindness.org. So partnersinkindness.org. That's a very inspirational thing that we heard. How Shmuel is turning what happened to him into a positive for the world. We have another, that was from the Jewish press, that was written by Rosalie Saltzman. We have another story here. This is about a young woman, Jewish, let's see, her name is Clare Burson, and she had grandparents that were in the Holocaust, and she was inspired to write Jewish songs in the spirit of the Holocaust, talking about the daily lives of people at that point, of the shtetl. Here, we can start reading over here. We can start reading. This is New York Times, Susan Damanis, the big city, from Silence, Songs About the Holocaust. The music on Silvar and Ash, a new album from the songwriter Clare Burson, started with silence. That was the silence that descended in 1941, when letters from her maternal great-grandparents, German Jews who had fled to Latvia, abruptly stopped arriving in Memphis, where Ms. Burnson's grandmother settled in 1938. Then there was the second silence, the silence in Ms. Burson's family about the first silence. In other words, her grandmother never wanted to talk about the Holocaust to her granddaughter. Ms. Burson, now a 34-year-old songwriter who lives in Cobble Hill, Brooklyn, started asking about her family's history in Europe when she was 8 and learned about the Holocaust at religious school. Her mother's response, quote, "Don't ask grandma about it." Some children would respond to that demand by dropping it. Ms. Burson was the kind who never really stopped asking, eventually moving to Germany for 2 years, learning German and Yiddish, and traveling to Latvia, Lithuania, and Ukraine, the home of other ancestors, in search of answers. In her album In Silver and Gold, it's called Silver and Gold. The album is called Silvar and Ash. In Silvar and Ash, 28 years of questioning, studying, and mourning have been channeled into songs yielding an unusual cultural hybrid, an American album of popular music devoted to the theme of the Holocaust. Americans embraced Bruce Springsteen's haunting storytelling about September 11th in his album The Rising, but somehow the Holocaust in this country, at least, has never received that full album treatment from an American songwriter, as if the subject was too monumental to approach with guitars and harmonicas. Ms. Burson said that she was not aware that an Israeli musician, Yehuda Palitker, had recorded a Hebrew-language rock album on the theme of the Holocaust called Ashes and Dust back in 1988. Nor did she set out to be any kind of groundbreaker. Quote, "I am always primarily motivated by what moves me," she said. Quote, "the small snapshots and fragments that make up a life." Maybe in the case of this particular historical event, 65 plus years had to pass before a songwriter of popular music felt comfortable tackling the subject matter in that genre. Or maybe 65 years later, as Holocaust survivors themselves fade, the urge to bring the material as directly as possible in as accessible a form as possible to new generations has a force of its own. After studying in Germany on a Fulbright scholarship, after college. Ms. Burson moved to Nashville to write songs in 2000.